Hi, it's Rich Hoffman here. So grooming's been in the news a lot lately. People have developed, I think, a healthy conscience from behavior that's been going on for far too long, especially the pedophilia cult that has been going on in the United Kingdom for a long time. It's going on in most major cities. Most of the world has an obsession with pedophilia. I think it's ironic that there's so much advertising going on these days for going to Thailand and Cambodia and places where they have no tourism industry at all, and what they are selling is sex with young women. You see that in a lot of places in the world. It's been the Lolita complex has certainly become more mainstream. We've seen it in local issues. We've seen it here in my town with a former school board member, superintendent member, and the school board's complicity in facilitating underage sex with people, with kids, from authority figures. So we're seeing this pedophilia culture being scrutinized in ways that probably should have been up to this point, but I think people are having a spiritual analysis, and they're looking at where we are in society, and they're saying we don't want to continue that. We don't want to pass this stuff on to the next generation. So we're looking at methods of grooming that obviously are a big problem. And it's good to have the healthy discussion, but it's not like it's just happened recently. So with all that in mind, I was thinking about this stuff quite a lot, and how do we groom young people? And I think there's a method that we employ as a society that we don't talk about enough. And that is the way we tell kids what adults are. Because if you have a young person and they're coming into their teenager years and they're like, I want to know that I'm going to be a good adult. So what do we define for them? So when kids are 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, we give them tools and methods and entertainment that facilitates their growing brains. And we try and teach them basic lessons about reading, good manners with other people, how to build teamwork and share and be a good person generally. But then when they start getting into adolescence, we shift our attention and the way they go, because there's in the back of people's minds, there's a lot of adults who never ever mature beyond the age of 15. So whatever it is that they did, they thought at age 15, they really don't develop much further for the rest of their lives, even as 50 and 60 year olds. And so there is an interesting limit to what people can do as far as mature development and developing sexual relationships. And so we send this message because in the back of our minds, we always perpetually want to use our influence as elder statesmen with resources to lure in the relationships we never had when we were going through it the first time. And I say as adults, the adults, and the way we create policy and the way we project adulthood to young people. And we don't give them much to look forward to as far as young people. If you're a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid thinking about becoming an adult, what are you looking at and saying, I want to be like that person? We say all too often that, and you start thinking about whether kids are getting older, whether they should consume adult content. And so we sell adult content as drug use, curse words, and sexual practices that are, illicit, pornography of various degrees. And we allow that in our back door because as adults, we don't take a firm stand against it because we have our own problems. We never arrive to adulthood correctly with a mature understanding of what we're supposed to be doing as adults and how we lead the next generation. Instead, we're still trying to date the 12 or 13-year-old girl or boy that was the object of your affection when you were running around in the 6th or 7th grade and you're coming to puberty and you got rejected for the dance. And you spend the rest of your life trying to reconcile that rejection with sexual escapades. And for some, messed up men, They buy a ticket to go to Thailand and hang out with 4 or 5 year old or 4 or 5 girls that are under the age of 16 that give them the harem fantasy, and they can do it for the price of a bowl of rice, because they're such an impoverished poor country, and the poor kids there have no other economic mobility to find anything better in life but to sell themselves short while they are still young and beautiful and have that working for them. No one wants to, once you get over 25, nobody wants to deal with anybody. They throw them away like a used up wrapper from a fast food restaurant. No one wants to spend any time with something that's lost its youth and beauty. So we call all that behavior adult. We say to young kids that are coming of age, you can't see that because that's adult. It's too adult for you. That's adult content. So of course the young kids are going to look at it and say, oh, well, when I get to be an adult, that means I should learn to cuss. That means I should learn to consume pornography. And, I should participate in drinking alcohol. Why do you think kids get so weird when they get to be 15, 16? They want to go out and get sloshed at a party, and they end up passed out on someone's living room floor and sexually abused in massive ways, which they'll never remember, and wake up, and once they finally come to consciousness, they can't even find all their clothes, and it's embarrassing, and people remember for the rest of their lives. And then they go and grow up and try to have kids of their own, and they can't pass on moral judgments because they are compromised, and they still have that guilt in the back of their mind, and their kids are looking for leadership, which they can't ever give them. And then the cycle continues on, and it starts really with because we can't identify what adult behavior is, because we ourselves as adults haven't set a precedent of conviction that gave young people something to look up to, because the adult population was compromised themselves. So all they could provide was something that is lost youth, and you better get used to it, kid, because you're going to grow up and become an adult and you got to go through the cycle everybody else is going to go through, and you're going to be embarrassed by it. And the days of all the fun little cartoons you watch and the innocence of youth will be taken away from you, and you better embrace it. It's the wrong message, and we shouldn't be surprised when kids get to be 14, 15, 16 years old and fall off the rails and start doing a lot of bad stuff, because we told them all their lives that is what adult behavior is. And because they want to prove that they can be adult, they do all the wrong things to become an adult, because we set the parameters incorrectly. And it starts with just saying adult content. It starts with setting rating limits for when kids, you're 17, you can watch an R-rated movie. And that says, hey, the things that made that movie R-rated are things that when I get to be of age that I can consume, and that means I'm an adult. If I drink alcohol, I get drunk, that's a rite of passage, and now I can say that I'm an adult. If I say adult words, cuss words, I can't do it when I'm young and under the power and influence of my parents, but when I'm an adult, I'll be free to do it. So now that's my declaration saying I'm an adult. So we tell kids that adult behavior is all the bad stuff, and bad for them, bad for society, things that are shameful, and then we wonder why they grow up and go off to Cambodia or Thailand looking for underage girls to have harem sex with for the price of, like I said, a bowl of rice. Very cheap, and they advertise it now. They advertise it on various outlets that were before it was scandalous and considered completely inappropriate, where now it's common. And when you find out what some of these like in public schools and these sex cults they have, and the pedophilia cults, and how widespread it is, and how there's a lobby out there to actually decriminalize it. It's just it's good, healthy human behavior, because we want to believe that all that adult behavior, all that scandalous, destructive sexual practices and intoxication and use of language is adult and proper, and people came to age and realized, okay, I'm an adult, I have all these bad habits. Now what? Now I'm going to raise another generation and pass the same garbage on to them. because we didn't designate what was proper behavior to begin with, and we left it in the back of our minds to be a loose definition. We wonder why there's such pedophilia cults out there and why we can't protect our young people, because we're looking to exploit them for our own degenerated moral condition that we've inherited from a bad policy set, because we set adult content as the gate for reaching as a young person, and then you get there and find out that it's full of sin and debauchery. And because we did not set the parameters correctly for what adult behavior should have been. We gave them all the wrong messages. They learned all those messages, and then they carry it throughout their entire lives. And we wonder why society has so many problems. And we wonder why we have these pedophilia cults. So as we're looking around and we're saying, what can we do to protect children? The very first thing you can do is set higher goals and standards for children to live up to, and not tell them that all the debaucherous, terrible, horrible things are the goals you're supposed to achieve, because otherwise they're going to get to be 15, they're going to drink too much, they're going to embarrass themselves, they're going to make fools of themselves, and they're going to take all the good stuff, all the good innocent stuff that we did for children from the time they were born to the time they're 7 or 8 years old. And as soon as they start getting evidence of puberty, we tell them, well, when you're an adult, you can do all these bad things. And then they're, of course, they're like, well, I want to prove that I'm an adult, so I'm going to do all these bad things to prove to you that I'm an adult. And we wonder why that plan went wrong. It's because we framed the issue incorrectly, and we allowed ourselves the room because we didn't psychologically develop as a culture. We left the back door to always go back and reinvent, and with more resources and exploitation of those younger people, because intellectually we're not much further along than 15 years of age. And we've kept this cycle going now for many generations, and it's been destructive, and there's no good in it, and we have to completely rebuild it from the ground up. And you have to start by admitting what the real problem is, and that's because we used adult content as the goal for achieving debauchery. That's once you've proven that you can be an adult, you can cuss, you can have crazy, reckless, illicit sex, and you can drink and abuse yourself with intoxicants, and that makes you an adult. And then the adults grow up and carry all the guilt of all that stuff into their lives, and then they make further mistakes, and the cycle continues perpetually. And it's going to continue until you change the way that adult behavior is viewed by the next generation. And someone has to set a higher standard somewhere along the way. Otherwise, it's going to continue perpetually. And that's the only way you're ever going to really, truly protect young people, is by getting adults to stop exploiting them, by making adults that actually understand why they shouldn't be exploiting children. Because right now they don't. And some of the people that I've run into that are part of these cults, some of these public education people that clearly can't be trusted around young people, they're broken themselves. When you really get to know them, those people shouldn't be anywhere near children, but they're put in highly respected positions because we don't have a value system that scrutinizes their behavior. And that's where you have to start. You have to start with moral authority and adult behavior that is good and proper and productive, and not destructive and tied to a lot of illicit, horrible activity that we were taught from young people to teenagers into adulthood, that adult behavior is the gateway, and adult behavior is defined by debaucherous, scandalous, horrendous acts of personal destruction that perpetuates then and holds the human race back from where it needs to be going. If you want to fix it, you got to fix it there. Anyway, it's Rich Hoffman here. Share, subscribe, make tomorrow a better day. If you haven't read my book, The Gunfighter's Guide to Business, I think you'll love it. Anyway, have a good day. See you later.